How much can XRP be worth if it overtakes the SWIFT system? We are going to look at my XRP price prediction. We're going to look at what other people are saying XRP is going to be worth. We're going to look at some stuff around ISO 20022 because I think that is still severely misunderstood. And then we're going to talk about my price prediction. So we'll get to that on today's Frugal BC. By the way, guys, if you like this kind of stuff, you like this in-depth analysis, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. As always, you don't have to smash the subscribe button. You can just press it gently. Works just fine that way too. Since this is not an Algorand video, we're just going to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Non-Fungible Domains. You can read more about them in the description. And we have channel memberships. They're only $1. That's right, $1. And you can get the videos before anyone else. Plus, you can qualify for our giveaways. We got a big one coming in December. Million Nico to whoever wins. So check that out, $1 a month. And there's a link in the description for that. But I want to get to this story about XRP because a lot of people are talking about XRP and its price action and how it will do and how it will do if it ends up overtaking SWIFT as being the banking cross-border payment solution. And so we're going to look at that. I'm going to talk a little bit about ISO 20022 because well, there's some stuff you need to know about it. I think you notice not a lot of people are talking about it. It just kind of quietly went away. I'm going to explain that, why that is. But let's first look at the pros and cons. I think this is a good post kind of summing up the pros and cons between Ripple, which is aiming to supplant SWIFT as the new bank cross-border payment solution. All right, SWIFT versus Ripple, 6 key areas of comparison for international business payments. Now, and we're going to explain why ISO 2022 is a little bit different than the cross-border payment network itself. I think a lot of people have mistaken these two, and I've learned some stuff from people who actually worked on the blockchain that a lot of stuff that's being said about this whole idea of ISO 2022 compliant coins is total nonsense. But let's get in. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, so they're basically two different. SWIFT has been around forever. It's been around since the 1970s. XRP is much newer. Obviously, Ripple Labs was founded in 2012, but since its launch has processed 30 billion worth of volume and 20 million worth of transactions. So that's pretty good. That's a good start, right? Now, there's a lot of coins that are being talked. They're mentioning about stable coins and CBDCs. A lot of coins get thrown around in this. A lot of them are being tested. Hedera and Algorand are also being tested for cross-border payments. So it's not exclusive to Ripple. But Ripple is trying to be kind of the coin of banks, really, is what we got. So transaction speed, I mean, this is an obvious benefit for any blockchain, including XRP. Now it says 3 days faster. That's really interesting because that means it's still 1 day, which is kind of interesting. You think it would be even faster being on the blockchain. I've done stuff over Algorand and it's so fast. I've had people from Italy send me Algorand and it took seconds, right? So. But yeah, much, much faster than the traditional networks. Cost efficiency too. For Southeast Asia to Europe, 3 to 4 times cheaper. Africa to Europe, even cheaper. UK to Europe, roughly equivalent. That's interesting. But mostly, for the most part, it's going to be much, much cheaper. Here they talk about intermediaries, and one of the big benefits of Ripple is that it doesn't need it. Basically, it's this is the juice right here. Elimination of third parties in that process delivers faster settlement times and reduces costs. Sorry, that wasn't on the screen. I got to be a little more careful about that. Liquidity, here's the cool thing too. Liquidity, definitely has an advantage in terms of liquidity, just because you have the entire XRP network to draw from, which is really helpful. Now they're talking about regulatory compliance. So this is an ongoing thing, and we're going to talk about this later. The fact that the SEC has sued XRP won. Now there is an appeal being filed, but also that was under Gary Gensler's watch, the SEC chair, and he is probably, I should say he's almost 100% certain to be gone with Trump taking office. So, and I'm not trying to get into the politics of it here. I'm just saying it sounded like he probably would have been gone under Harris too. There was a lot of signals that they weren't liking him very much either, but for sure gone under Trump. So I think this is probably less of an issue. We're going to get into that when we get into the other part. And then, yeah, industry adoption. It's a fraction of the size of SWIFT, but it's growing impressively, they say, which I think is accurate. XRP is the 5th largest cryptocurrency by market cap. I think that's still the case. Well, yeah, it's actually seventh right now, so not quite, but still, doing pretty well. Actually, almost up to 70 cents. That's going to be interesting later because we're seeing some stuff about whether XRP can even get to $1. We'll talk about that in a minute. So that's that, and I want to talk a little bit about ISO 20022 because I think people misunderstand this. Here's the thing about ISO 22: is a bank messaging standard. It's a new syntax standard for Swift. So a list was going around for a long time, and this was one of them, and it had a number of coins, including XRP, saying that these coins are ISO 20022 compliant. If you actually understand what ISO 20022 is, it doesn't make any sense to say a coin is compliant with the syntax standard in a bank messaging system. It just doesn't make any sense. There's nothing, first off, there's no compliance. It flat out tells you on the Swift website for ISO 20022 that there's no compliance. And one of the coins that's on here, besides XRP, of course, was Algorand. And Algorand's folks, including their CEO and their CTO, have come out and said, there's no such thing as a coin that's compliant with a bank messaging standard. It doesn't make any sense. When John Allen Woods, the CTO of Algorand, was on my channel, he told me that the most likely scenario is that a dApp could be compliant with that messaging standard. And that has nothing to do with cross-border payments, by the way. So cross-border payments, that's something that's totally separate. And it doesn't, so a dApp that uses, that's built to do these things could use that syntax. So you could be said to be compliant, I guess. Compliant doesn't really make sense, but utilizing that syntax would make a lot of sense. But there's no such thing as the coin inherently being ISO 20022 compliant. I think what they mean is that they're fast and speedy and that they would work well for cross-border payments, and that's 100% accurate. And I think XRP is set up as well as like Algorand or Hedera. I think it was a Dutch bank that's currently testing Hedera and Algorand to see, and maybe XRP too. I think it might have been the three of them to see which one works best. So that's ongoing right now. We reported on that earlier. But that's something that's important to keep in mind when you're talking about cross-border payments and ISO 20022. And you notice like nobody's talking about that. It just sort of quietly disappeared. We also found a tweet from the former head of engineering at XRP who also said the same thing, that ISO 20022 compliance isn't really a thing in terms of like the currency itself. Like John Allen Woods said on our show, he said it mostly would happen at the dApp level, and that makes the most sense. So I want to get into that, but I also want to look at some price things going on here. So, how much can it actually get up to, right? So let's pull up XRP. One thing to keep in mind, well, this might have changed since I checked this morning because I see that it's on the rise again. It's slightly up. It's actually only slightly up, and just because of a pump today, it is slightly up from a year ago. So if we compare that with Bitcoin, obviously there's a big disparity. How about something like Hedera? It's about even, maybe a little slightly better than Hedera. And then what about like Algorand? It's kind of a similar, so Algo slightly outperforming XRP over the years. So, I can see some concerns about price action, which some people have, by the way. For instance, this one here, can Ripple expect price increases in the following period, or should investors focus on the new sale project? This is from Brave New Coin. So here they're saying, can it finally break the $5 barrier? But later on, they're saying for it to approach $5, it would need a massive rally, and they're saying a $1 target may be more realistic. I think that's a little bit crazy, because if we go back to the chart, there's actually some things I like seeing on the chart and some things I don't. So we had this huge all-time high in 2018 in January. We got up to about almost 250. And our high after that did not get nearly as high. But one thing I really, really like to see is the lows are higher lows than the previous cycle. And we have that happening in both the bear markets right here. We have higher lows, and that's always a good sign. That's something I don't see from Algorand. I like seeing this. This is good. This is good news. The idea that it's only going to top out at $1, I think is crazy. I think it's for sure going to get higher than that. I would set, will it hit this last one? I'm not so sure. We had a lot of volume and it didn't lead to a huge amount of price action. But I think getting into $2 to $3 range is more than reasonable. I think there's a good chance that will happen. And I'm kind of surprised at I'm kind of surprised at how many price predictions are extremely bearish for XRP, but I get it. We kind of had this ongoing joke that it's always around 53 cents, that it's almost a 53-cent stable coin. And every time I looked at it, it's around 53 cents, which is kind of true. It was kind of sitting around that 50 to 60 cent range for a really long time. But that's also kind of bearish because you didn't see like a really nasty dip. Algorand dipped down to, I think, below 8 cents at one point, which is lower than its previous all-time low before the last bull market. So I think there's good signs for XRP, and I think if XRP can really work its way in strongly into the banking system, and it offers a lot of advantages, it's getting over the crypto hump, I think, is going to be the biggest thing for XRP. And especially getting past the SEC things, I think that might be, you might even see this appeal withdrawn when Gary Gensler is taken out of office, which is almost assuredly going to happen, since Elizabeth Warren was a big supporter of his, and Trump is obviously not a fan of hers, and probably will. I'd be shocked if he kept his job, especially since Trump has flat out said he would fire him. So that should be a good sign for XRP, and not having those compliance issues in the background will be a big help for XRP. And that might have been hurting it last time too. There's a good chance that dip that we saw in the middle, that was the SEC's battle. Because it never looks good. If you're a bank and like the SEC is going after this company that's trying to pitch you, it's not a great look, even if it is BS. And I think a lot of us are pretty in crypto are pretty unhappy with the regulation by enforcement, where it's like, we're not really going to tell you the rules, but we'll enforce it after the fact. Like, doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't see how that helps anybody, frankly. So yeah, I think XRP will do pretty good this bull run. This recent pump, I think, means, I'd be shocked if it was under $1. I think those dollar targets are kind of crazy, but like I always say, it's best to have a plan for no matter what it does. If it goes up 2x, you should probably be taking a little bit of profit and locking that in, and just have a ladder system on your way up so you make something. You don't totally get hosed. I've already made a bunch of money in Bitcoin, and a couple other coins are moon bags already, so stay tuned. But yeah, we'll be following the Ripple case and the Ripple. So I think XRP is interesting because of how it's positioned. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for more altcoin news and altcoin analysis from Frugal BC. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the future.